In July 1974, Peter Gabriel's wife, Jill, gave birth to their daughter, Anna Marie. The birth nearly killed both of them. Anna was placed in an incubator.
And there was a really rough birth, and the hospital didn't think she was going to make it, and she spent first month in an incubator.
For weeks, Gabriel divided his time between the hospital and the rented house in Hampshire, where Genesis were recording their seventh album. The band's response was to log in his absence as a lack of commitment. That is the center of this story. Everything else, the double album, the exhausting tour, the Hollywood offer, orbits around that one decision by the other four members of Genesis. When the singer's family nearly died, they kept score. By 1973, Genesis had built something genuinely unusual. A devoted following across Britain and Europe, an elaborate live show that felt closer to theater than rock, and an internal democracy that insisted all five members, Gabriel, Tony Banks, Mike Rutherford, Steve Hackett, Phil Collins, had equal standing. Votes were taken on everything. Gabriel wanted to break that structure at least once. For The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, he insisted on writing the entire story himself. My least favorite part of being in Genesis was that time of doing The Lamb. It was difficult all around.
It kind of embodied all that Genesis did well, which was quite majestic, powerful stuff, interesting rhythms, good melodies.
The band would compose the music. Gabriel would control the narrative. They agreed, reluctantly. What followed was effectively two parallel projects running in the same house.
There's one person writing pretty much all the lyrics. It's a certain character, that came across with the lyrics on that, which is, I think works fine. But it is a different thing to what we'd had in the past with the contrasting lyrics written by everybody else.
Gabriel sent lyrics late, sometimes very late, writing a novel-length concept, while the band built music around gaps they couldn't yet hear.
I remember it being a bit contentious of him wanting to write, the lyrics.
Banks and Rutherford grew openly frustrated. The dynamic that had always been uneasy became something colder. Then came the hospital. Gabriel's absence during the summer of 1974 weren't erratic or unexplained. His wife and newborn daughter had been in genuine danger. But the band's accounting of those weeks was clinical. He wasn't pulling his weight. Gabriel later described their handling of it as really unsympathetic.
When, for me, there was very little sympathy and support when, I was seriously facing losing a child. That, I think, was the icing on the cake that sort of closed the door.
I have to say that I didn't, I didn't know.
I wasn't aware of it either.
That phrasing, measured as it is, carried something that didn't resolve. Around the same time, a phone call arrived that would shape the next 2 years. While we were actually writing it, Peter got offered to do this film script with William Friedkin, and he was sort of off. William Friedkin had directed The Exorcist in 1973. On a flight, he'd read a short story Gabriel had written for the sleeve of the band's live album. A strange, fully turned piece of surreal fiction that had nothing to do with rock music's usual self-mythology. Friedkin called Gabriel. He had ideas about the sci-fi film project, about bringing in people who'd never worked in Hollywood before, about making something that didn't resemble anything that already existed.
I had been contacted by William Friedkin, who'd just done The Exorcist, which was a hot film at that time.
Gabriel wanted to pursue it. He asked Genesis for a break before the Lamb tour. They refused.
Plus, William Friedkin had asked Peter to, if he wanted to collaborate on a kind of some music for his film. So it was kind of all happening, and we were trying to make a double album. So it was kind of a busy time. Yeah.
The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway was released in November 1974, a double album, dense and uncommercial, built around Gabriel's fictional underworld. The tour that followed ran for over 100 dates through North America, Europe, and Japan. It never worked perfectly. It would have been great if it had, but it never did. So it was very frustrating every night. Gabriel performed in elaborate costume every night. The Slipper Man, the Rail Creature, masks and foam rubber and theatrical lightning rigs that cost more than the band was earning. Each show was its own production. There was no way to miss a night. Friedkin moved on. The project he'd been developing became Sorcerer, released in 1977. Gabriel's name was not on it. The tour ended in May 1975. Gabriel did not start planning the next album.
I think it was Cleveland. I mean, Tony was the first person that I talked to and sort of said, no, I can't do this. I'm definitely going to have to leave.
In 1975, he issued a written statement. The vehicle we had built as a co-op to serve our songwriting became our master and had cooked us up inside the success we had wanted. No press conference, no farewell show. The statement mentioned exhaustion, the need to give space to his family, to pull toward other work. It didn't name anyone. The band found out the same way the press did. Genesis went into the studio months later and recorded A Trick of the Tail with Phil Collins on lead vocals. Peter Gabriel got all the credibility and I got the money. Ha! It reached number 3 in the UK. Within 5 years, they were selling out stadiums. Gabriel released his debut solo album in 1977. No title on the cover, no mention of Genesis. Just his name on a plain white sleeve and a photo of a man sitting in a bath, staring at nothing in particular. The Friedkin collaboration never materialized into what either of them had imagined. The marriage didn't survive the decade.
I mean, it was quite fun, but it took me about 12 years to get out of being ex-Genesis.
Genesis went one direction, Gabriel went another, and the distance between them only widened as both succeeded on their own terms. For the sessions in Hampshire and the hospital in London, and the unanswered film offer added up, was a man being held in place by a structure that needed him more than it understood him. The tour gave him 18 months to be certain of that. The letter was the end of a decision that had already been made somewhere in Hampshire kitchen in 1974, with the phone ringing and his bandmates in the next room waiting for relics.